As I said in the introduction, information graphics and visualization involve the use of different means to represent data and phenomena, such as charts, maps, and explanation diagrams. In this first part of the videos, we will explore what they all have in common. Information graphics borrow first from statistics. Statistical charts have come a long way since they were created by William Playfair, a Scottish economist and engineer, at the end of the 18th century. Just take a look at this interactive graphic by the Wall Street Journal. You can easily find it on the internet if you search for its headline, U.S. Unemployment, a Historical View. In this graphic, the shades of color represent the jobless rate from 1948 until 2010, month by month. Just by taking a quick look at the rectangles, you will immediately identify the times of economic downturns and then also the years of economic expansion. The goal of the graphic was to offer a quick overview of the history of unemployment in the US in the last 6 decades, and I believe that it does a wonderful job at that. To make information graphics, we designers and visual journalists also borrow ideas and tools from traditional cartography. This interactive map was created by Jeff McGee for the Bill Lane Center for the American West at Stanford University. It plots the history of more than 100,000 newspapers published over 3 centuries. When you search for it online, and again, you can search for its headline and you will find it, you will notice that each little circle on the map is clickable. And when you click on the bubbles, the application will display the names of the newspapers that were published in that particular city at that particular time. But information graphics are not limited to statistical charts and maps alone. In some cases, we need to represent information by means of pictograms, icons, explanation drawings, illustrations, diagrams, etc. And I am going to show you an example. What you're seeing right now is an infographic published by La Voz del Interior, one of the main newspapers in Argentina. It shows a cutaway of the Church of the Sacred Heart, which is one of the architectural landmarks of the city of Córdoba. This church is a masterpiece of the neo-Gothic style of the beginning of the 20th century. And this is a wonderful infographic, isn't it? It shows you the exterior of the building, it shows you the interior of the building, it shows you the blueprint of the building, and it shows you several details, several interesting details about the building. It provides you with a lot of information about this architectural landmark. The question you may have at this point is, what do these 3 examples, the ones that we have seen so far, have in common? Because they have things in common. And I would argue that the answer to that question is that the 3 of them are visual representations of data and phenomena that reveal things the bare eye would not be able to see otherwise. Try to imagine the huge amount of data that underlies the first 2 examples, the one by the Wall Street Journal and the one on the growth of newspapers in the US. The data will be very hard to understand if we didn't transform them into a visual display. And something very similar can be said about the 3rd example, about the 3rd graphic, which lets you explore the exterior and interior of a building simultaneously, something that would be impossible to do in the real world. But there is something else that ties these 3 examples together as belonging to a single professional discipline, and that would be that they are designed in ways the human brain can easily grasp. The visual forms that are used to encode the data, the layout and the structure of the information, the use of type, the use of color, everything in these 3 examples has been carefully designed to help the viewer understand what the stories are about. The challenge these 3 graphics address is that human evolution didn't model us to deal with high complexity or with huge amount of numbers, but it did model us to be quite good at extracting patterns from the world in front of our eyes. And that's exactly why graphics are so effective at communicating certain kinds of information. Humans are a visual species, and we designers should take advantage of what the human brain is capable of. We have to somehow anticipate what our user's brain will try to do. Let me give you just a very quick example of that. Imagine that you are about to publish a story on the unemployment rate in America, something that is related to the Wall Street Journal's graphic that we saw before. And your main goal with this display would be to allow readers to see if the current percentage of people without a job in each state of the Union is closer to its historical maximum or if it's closer to its historical minimum. Would you represent your data as a table? I don't really know. Can you answer questions just by reading the numbers on that table? Let's try it with one that will probably pop up in the minds of many of your users. Tell me quickly which two states are currently closer to their historical maximums. By asking you that, I am forcing your brain to do something it is not prepared to do, which is to scan a large amount of figures, read them all, memorize them, compare them, and rank them, and then come up with a good answer. And as I said before, our main goal as information graphics designers is to anticipate what users will likely try to do. So what about if we encode the data using a chart? Now it is easier to answer the question, isn't it? Of course it is. California and Florida are the states that are closer to their historical unemployment maximums. What I have done with this simple exercise is illustrate one of the main ideas in the functional art. If you have to design a graphic, one of the first things you should do is to ask yourself what your graphic will be used to do, what kind of questions your project will help answer, and then use graphic forms that would best help the viewer understand this information. Robert Spence, an expert in information graphics, wrote once that visualization is not something that happens on a page or on a computer screen. Visualization is something that happens in the viewer's brain. When facing new information, and no matter in what format, the human brain tries to figure it out. It tries to create a mental map of it. So we have to design our graphics in ways that aid the brain in that task. And that is the reason why the core idea in the functional art is that information graphics and visualization are tools for communication, tools for understanding, tools for analysis. This idea may sound like a no-brainer to you, but it is not. It has consequences in the way we should gather information for our projects. It also has consequences in the way we plan for those projects, and it also has consequences in the ways we produce those projects in our computers.